Sal Rocca.
Gore, how are you and the fire wielders settling in?
All right, I guess. Nonetheless, Tahar, I have to say it. I don't like this place. Not at all.
Why not?
I guess it's the people who once lived here. The Shapers. They were corrupted. And I can feel that corruption even now.
Corrupted?
Yeah. Their customs, their culture. They were completely detached from the order of nature.
How so?
Do you even need to ask? Just look around. Ghost warriors, strange machines, strange buildings. Especially this place, this Nexus. They thought they were above everything, even the gods. And they meddled with things they didn't understand. It's disgusting.
Well, they're dead now.
Maybe. But I can still feel their presence. Anyway, nothing we can do about it. If the Shapers caused the blood burn, I understand why we need this place. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Now look at that. What's it like to change form? I've been wondering about that since I met you.
I can imagine. It's exhilarating and strange at the same time. If it taught me one thing, then it's how foolish it is to put the mind above every other aspect of the body. Many people do that, especially scholars or mages.
What do you mean?
Because the shape of our flesh is so much more than just a shell. It defines us. When I take on the form of a wolf, for example, this wolf isn't just me with fangs and paws. It's a different version of myself.
A different version?
Yes. You can't understand if you haven't been there. But I guess you could say that when I'm taking on a creature's form, a part of my mind gets infused with that creature's essence, the thirst for the hunt, thinking as part of a pack, just to name the most obvious aspects. They meld with my mind. When I was young and first started shifting, the creature always dominated. It was like a feverish dream, and I had almost no control over my actions. With time, it got better.
Did you ever completely lose control when you were in another form?
In the beginning, yes. But the Elder always made sure I was in a controlled environment when I did my first transformations.
How does it feel to shift into a spider?
Strange. Being a mammal, a wolf or bear, it feels different, but still somehow familiar. A spider is something else entirely. The way you see, the way you perceive, the way you feel. The first time I shifted, I couldn't bear it for more than a minute, and it haunted me for weeks after that.
Yeah, I imagine. How do you learn a new form?
That's complicated. First you have to understand that creature, observe it, live with it if possible. That can take months, years, sometimes decades. Then there's what we shamans call the first joining. You have to visualize your shift.
How does that work?
I can't explain it. It's like your first bloodshed. It can't be explained, only experienced.
So, in theory, could you transform into anything? Even say, a wyvern, a dragon?
In theory, yes. In practice, there's no known shapeshifter who has ever done that. Save for old orcish legends, maybe.
Why not?
First off, there aren't many dragons around to study. And even if there were, you aren't likely to survive it. Secondly, transforming into something that enormous, it can be lethal. Our minds, our essence just isn't fit to govern such a massive body. Only some years ago there was talk of an Ash Reaver shifter who had attempted to morph into a troll. He succeeded, but his heart, the troll's heart, stopped before he could take a single step. So you see why most shifters aren't that eager to experiment.
Well, that's definitely interesting. Thanks for taking the time to explain.
Sure.
Back in Bargagor, you told me that you think the orcs should strive to be more. What do you mean by that? Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized. But in the end, you look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. But of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that. And the result are lies, intrigue, wars, and assassinations. Your culture is so bizarre that it's almost amusing.
That might go for some, but not all of us.
Maybe, maybe not. So no, I don't consider our culture to be inferior. But we've gone astray. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every battle, every war has to have a purpose. It isn't something done for pleasure. Yes, it can be enjoyed. But at its core, it is ritual. The most basic one of nature.
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So what you want is to lead your people to a better future.
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Don't you think a world without violence is possible?
No.
Why? Isn't that what we should all aspire to?
We should aspire to a lot of things. But tell me, Tahar, this world has existed for millennia. And has there ever been peace? Lasting peace?
No.
Exactly. And you don't think there's a reason for this? As I said, our very existence is based on conflict. Finding food, not freezing to death. Living means to struggle. Your people, with your warm clothes and banquets, try all in your power to forget that fact. But you can't, because ultimately, there's as much thirst for struggle in you as in an orc. What we orcs believe is that we should embrace it, that we should just face the truth, even if it's ugly. That the ways of nature can't be changed by its creation. It's like fighting the tides.
So, what? Do we just kill each other whenever we feel like it?
No. What we need is a way to channel our urges. Ceremonial battles, arenas, a society that is centered around survival and strength, and gains, rather than loses stability from it. Because if we simply suppress these urges, such as humans, the elves, and the dwarves do, they will at one point only erupt even more violently.
I never looked at it that way, but I think you might be right.
You never fail to surprise Tahar. Anyway, where were we?
Did you always have these ambitions?
No.
Then where did they come from?
None of your business, Tahar. Sorry.
All right. Well, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
Back in Bargagor, you told me that do you consider...
Inferior.
Why?
Because not so... You like to tell, but of course you don't admit to it.
Well, you have...
I know. So no, I don't fool such as Krell with every brawl.
In other words...
Yeah, and as you...
So what you want...
You make it sound so dramatic. Sure.
I'll be off.